Welcome to our channel. Today we venture into the chilling depths of human darkness. These are the stories of 10 serial killers who have never been caught and are still at large. Join me as we delve into the evidence, examine the clues and attempt to unravel the enigma of these elusive figures. Prepare yourself, for the journey ahead is not for the faint of heart. Our journey begins in the late 1960s, in the sun-drenched expanse of California. Amidst the counterculture movement, a specter emerged, the Zodiac Killer. This predator communicated with authorities through cryptic letters filled with chilling ciphers and symbols. The Zodiac claimed responsibility for a string of brutal attacks in and around San Francisco. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, the Zodiac's ciphers remained unbroken. The killer vanished, leaving behind a legacy of fear and fascination. Even now, decades later, the case continues to captivate and confound. We now travel back in time, to the Victorian era, a period shrouded in mystery and intrigue, to the cobbled streets of London's East End, where the gas lamps flicker through the thick, enveloping fog. The year is 1888, and a climate of fear hangs heavy in the air, as the fog conceals more than just the streets. The Whitechapel district becomes the backdrop for a series of gruesome murders by the infamous Jack the Ripper, a name that would haunt history. The victims, all women, were subjected to a level of brutality that shocked the world, their lives cut short in the most horrific manner. The Ripper didn't simply kill, he mutilated, his blade carving a gruesome signature on each victim, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. Despite the fog of fear and the limitations of Victorian-era forensics, investigators toiled tirelessly, piecing together clues in a desperate bid to catch the killer. Theories abounded, suspects emerged, but Jack the Ripper seemed to dissipate into the darkness, eluding capture and leaving the city in a state of perpetual dread. Jack the Ripper's reign of terror was brief but brutal, leaving an indelible mark on the collective consciousness, a dark chapter in the annals of crime that continues to fascinate and horrify to this day. From the fog-laden streets of London, we journey to the sun-drenched hills of Tuscany, Italy. Between 1968 and 1985, a series of murders terrorized Florence and its surrounding areas. The victims, young couples seeking secluded romantic interludes, became the prey of a killer dubbed the Monster of Florence. The killer would strike in the darkness, often using a .22 caliber pistol. What set this killer apart was his chilling ritual, mutilating the female victims. The Italian authorities launched a massive investigation, yet the monster remained elusive. Theories swirled, but the Monster of Florence was never definitively identified. The case remains one of Italy's most infamous unsolved mysteries. Our journey now takes us to the windswept shores of Long Island, New York. In 2010, police stumbled upon a gruesome discovery: the skeletal remains of 4 bodies wrapped in burlap sacks. This chilling find would be just the beginning, as over the next few years, the remains of at least 10 more victims would surface. The victims, mostly young women working as escorts, seemed to vanish before their bodies were discarded. The killer, dubbed the Long Island Serial Killer, or LISK, operated with chilling efficiency. Despite the efforts of multiple law enforcement agencies, the case remained cold. The case of the Long Island Serial Killer serves as a grim reminder that darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. We journey westward now to the high desert of New Mexico. Here, on the outskirts of Albuquerque, another chilling tale of unsolved murders unfolds: the West Mesa Bone Collector. In 2009, a woman walking her dog made a gruesome discovery: a human bone protruding from the sandy soil. Over the next few months, the skeletal remains of 11 women were unearthed. The victims, most of whom struggled with drug addiction and worked as prostitutes, had vanished from the streets of Albuquerque. Despite the creation of a dedicated task force, the case remains unsolved. The West Mesa Bone Collector has seemingly vanished into the very landscape that yielded the secrets of his crimes. Our pursuit of justice now leads us back to California, to the vibrant city of San Francisco, a place known for its cultural diversity and progressive spirit. Here, amidst the burgeoning LGBTQ+ community of the 1970s, a time of both liberation and struggle, a killer known as the Doodler stalked the night, preying on the unsuspecting. The Doodler, so named for his habit of sketching his victims before their demise, is believed to be responsible for at least 5 murders, though some fear the true number may be higher. He would meet his victims at bars and nightclubs, places where people sought refuge and connection, using his artistic talent to gain their trust, sketching their portraits as a sinister prelude to their fate. The killer's modus operandi was as calculated as it was chilling, leaving a trail of fear and confusion. Despite the development of several suspects, and the tireless efforts of law enforcement, the Doodler was never apprehended, his identity remaining a haunting mystery. Some speculate that the killer's ability to blend into the gay community, a community already marginalized and often overlooked, allowed him to evade justice, slipping through the cracks of a society that failed to protect its most vulnerable. The Doodler's reign of terror serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows and the vulnerability of marginalized communities, who continue to fight for recognition and safety in a world that often turns a blind eye. As we remember the victims, we are reminded of the importance of justice and the need to protect those who are most at risk. The Doodler may have escaped capture, but the quest for answers and justice continues, driven by the memories of those lost. Our journey takes us now to the heart of Texas, to the burgeoning city of Austin, in the late 1880s. This was a time of growth and opportunity, but also a period marked by fear and uncertainty. This was the era of the Servant Girl Annihilator, a name that would send shivers down the spines of Austin's residents. A shadowy figure whose crimes would forever be etched in Austin's history. The Annihilator was a specter of terror. The Servant Girl Annihilator preyed on young women employed as domestic servants, targeting those who were often overlooked and vulnerable. Between 1884 and 1885, the city was gripped by a series of brutal murders. At least 7 women fell victim to the Annihilator's brutality, their lives cut short in the most horrific ways. He would enter their homes under the cover of darkness, moving silently through the night. Subjecting them to horrific violence, his methods were both cruel and calculated. Despite the efforts of local law enforcement, the killer remained elusive. The police were baffled, and the community was left in a state of perpetual fear. The Servant Girl Annihilator's reign of terror eventually subsided, but the scars left on the city were deep and lasting. His identity was lost to the annals of time, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions and unresolved grief. The case serves as a chilling reminder that even in a burgeoning city, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface, waiting to strike. Our journey now takes us to the industrial heartland of America, to the city of Cleveland, Ohio. Here, during the depths of the Great Depression, a shadowy figure emerged, the Cleveland Torso Murderer. Between 1935 and 1938, a wave of terror washed over Cleveland as the dismembered bodies of at least 12 victims were discovered. The killer meticulously dismembered his victims, often decapitating and draining them of blood. The victims, many of whom were transients, seemed to vanish before their remains were discarded. Despite a massive investigation, the Cleveland Torso Murderer was never apprehended. The case remains one of America's most infamous unsolved serial murder cases. Our journey takes a somber turn northward, to the vast wilderness of British Columbia, Canada. Here, along a desolate stretch of Highway 16, known as the Highway of Tears, a chilling pattern of disappearances and murders has haunted the region for decades. Since the 1970s, dozens of women, many of them indigenous, have vanished or been found murdered along this isolated highway. The vastness of the area and the challenging terrain have hampered investigations. While some cases have been linked to known offenders, many remain unsolved. The Highway of Tears stands as a chilling reminder of the vulnerability of women, particularly indigenous women. Our final destination takes us to the historic region of Virginia, where the scenic Colonial Parkway winds its way through picturesque landscapes. Between 1986 and 1989, 4 couples were found murdered along or near the parkway. The victims, all young couples seeking romantic escapes, were found shot or stabbed, their cars often abandoned near secluded areas. Despite the efforts of multiple law enforcement agencies, the case remained cold. The Colonial Parkway killer's reign of terror eventually subsided, but the questions lingered. The case serves as a chilling reminder that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of darkness. The cases we've explored today are stark reminders of the fragility of life and the enduring power of mystery. Thank you for watching. If you found this video intriguing, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on unsolved mysteries. And remember, stay safe and stay curious.